Jim Barnes, October 18, 2024. Driving a grey 2004 Chevrolet pickup, a red golden retriever Murphy by his side. Objective: firewood, maybe a grouse hunt. Nothing more than the regular routine.
My partner, Jim Barnes. He drove out to gather some firewood and hunt, but he hasn't returned. It's already 11 p.m., and he is not the type of person to disappear.
The car is found the next morning, around 12 p.m. The driver's seat door is slightly open, and all of his personal belongings, including his firearms, lay on the seat, covered with a layer of snow. The odd thing in this case is that the clues end here. Jim Barnes was a seasoned outdoorsman and knew this area extremely well. He was also considered an extremely cautious guy who didn't take unnecessary risks. And although there were clues that bears and wolves were around, there were no signs of predatory attacks. Eventually, some volunteers found a footprint, along with dog prints, near the Pine River. No one knows if these belong to Barnes and Murphy, but at this point, heavy snowfall unfortunately halts the search efforts. But nothing makes sense so far. This river was located approximately 3 kilometers away from the car. Why didn't someone as experienced as Barnes take the firearms with him? Foul play was likely not involved, because nothing, including the firearms, which are extremely hard to obtain in British Columbia, were taken. One of the leading theories is that Murphy picked up a scent, ran off, and Barnes followed. But what happened next is completely speculative and unknown. Barnes knew this area extremely well, so even after running into the forest, finding the way back for someone like him shouldn't have been a problem. It is possible that Barnes and Murphy somehow ended up falling into the river. After the weather cleared up a few days later, a helicopter and boats were deployed, but yielded no results, and with each passing day, potential evidence was being covered and buried by new layers of snow. The case had reached a dead end. One month later, hikers stumble upon something that would make this case truly baffling. They find Murphy, Jim Barnes's red golden retriever. Murphy had a broken foot, puncture wounds, likely from coyotes, and he was almost starved to death. He was found 110 kilometers away, near Wanawan, surviving in wilderness for a month, avoiding predators despite being wounded. This is, truly, a remarkable feat that seems impossible. There are bears, mountain lions, wolves, cougars, coyotes and wolverines in these woods. It shouldn't be possible for a golden retriever to survive in such an environment, but he did. Murphy recovered and quickly adapted back to his old life. The only thing missing was Jim Barnes. Despite the new search efforts after Murphy's discovery, they couldn't find anything. A DNA test proves that the dog that was found isn't Murphy. But it doesn't make sense, because both dogs look and act identical. Michaela Sawyer, Jim Barnes' partner, was convinced that this is Murphy. And what are the chances that a dog exactly like Murphy, the same gender, both unchipped, the same age and even the same breed, would just magically be found near the place where Murphy went missing? What puzzles me is that no second DNA test was ever made to double check the lab didn't make any mistakes. Because if this isn't Murphy, then who is he? What was he doing in the forest, injured and on the verge of death? Where are his owners, and why aren't they searching for him? Let's assume that this dog is in fact not Murphy. While golden retrievers are a popular breed in this area, the specific red coloring that Murphy had isn't common. And after searching through data like lost pet statistics and the dog breed's popularity in this area, my calculations show that the odds of this being a different dog is far below 1%. Meanwhile, this is the probability of human error changing the results in DNA tests. Due to my own estimates of these probabilities, I will assume, going forward, that the dog that was found is Murphy. And with that in mind, I will now try to piece everything together. Barnes and Murphy are driving around looking for firewood. They stop because Barnes notices a promising place and wants to have a better look at it. Murphy picks up some sort of a smell and runs in its direction. Barnes, worried about Murphy, decides to run after him. Eventually, they split up because Murphy is much faster than him. Barnes stumbles across the Pine River. Because of an accident, he falls into the river, which ends up killing him. During the next few days, while the weather gets worse, animals stumble across the body and eat it, while the river washes away any traces or leftover remains. After running towards the scent, Murphy eventually tries to return by tracking the scent of Barnes, which leads him to the place where the accident happened. Confused by where the scent is leading him, Murphy decides to follow the river, which at that specific section was flowing north. At some point, Murphy decides to cross the river. Continuing with the general direction of going north, Murphy spends a whole month in the wilderness, somehow evading predatory animals, until he is rescued by the hikers. As you can tell by the probability, this summary still has a lot of holes, as every next step in the events assumes that the previous step was accurate, when in fact, by simply changing how Barnes was drawn away from the car would change everything immediately. It is entirely possible that the footprints near the river didn't belong to them, and without finding Barnes, we will likely never know what truly happened that day. But what we do know is that even to experts, bad things can happen, and no matter how comfortable you're feeling in a forest, you should always be careful. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you liked the video, and stay safe.